So, Alan, you're one of the few people who didn't come out and say, this is a terrible idea, them not raising the superannuation guarantee.
I don't think it is a terrible idea. I think it's fine. Keep it at 9.5%. We don't need 12%. What we need is better returns on the super.
Right, but they're not getting that, are they?
No, that's right. So what we need to do is get it up. I mean, the whole thing about raising the percentage contribution from 9.5 to 12% just lets the super funds off the hook. I mean, their job is to ensure that we retire comfortably, right? And what they're doing is ensuring that they stay in business and don't have much volatility. So they end up with 6% or 7% annual returns. And over the life of a worker, it's simply not enough. And the fact is, you can get more if you invest properly for the long term and don't just invest for the short term lack of volatility and short term kind of smoothing of returns.
Now, one of the things you talked about in your article was the idea that they're trying to hug the All Ordinaries effectively, which means, though, that once you take out their fees, you always earn less than you can do if you put your money in an ETF anyway.
Right. So I did the compound interest calculations on somebody who starts at 25 on $50,000, puts their 9.5% into super. Turns out after contributions tax, you're putting in about $336 per month, right? Now, if you invest that for 40 years till you're 65 at a compound rate of return of 6%, you end up with $670,000. But if you invested it at the compound rate of return provided by the All Ordinaries Index, just the index, right, which is 11.3%, including dividends, you end up with 3.2 million. That's what it is, 3.2 million. Well, that's a huge difference. That is the difference between not having enough and having plenty and not being on the pension. So I'm saying if the government wants to ensure that people aren't on the pension, find a way to get the super funds to produce a return that's equivalent to the All Ordinaries Index.
But this is quite amusing because you've got government who's going absolutely bananas at the moment, and the Greens are saying this is an outrage, and so is Bill Shorten. So all of the political capital that's being burned up in debating whether they should raise it to 12% should actually be spent saying, actually, how is our superannuation system working and what should we do to get those returns up?
Precisely. And, then I used the calculation of, I used the return that's achieved by somebody who does invest long-term in companies and is not sort of hugging the index, right? And that's, for example, I mean, this is not the only one, but for example, Wilson Asset Management, since its inception in 1999, has achieved a return of 18% per annum, compound, right? So if our $50,000 worker putting 9.5% into super for 40 years achieves 18%, they end up with $28 million, right?
That's a good retirement.
Well, that's fantastic. So this is the power of compound interest, right? This is, and super is a compound interest game. That's what it's about. So if you can get somewhere, okay, so you can't get 18% because, well, actually you can get 18%.
Yeah, but only some can beat the market. Mr. Market always has to come back to the mean, right?
No, but it's not about the market. This is the thing, you see. If you're investing for the long term for your super, don't invest in the market. Invest in companies that are going to grow. That's what Warren Buffett always says. It's not about the market. You invest in companies. And yes, you have to buy them on the market, but that's got nothing to do with it. The market goes up and down, and it's full of bloody psychology, and and it's got crap in it as well as good companies. Pick good companies, get your 15% per annum, which is not that hard if you pick a group of, or in fact, give it to a good manager who's doing that. For 40 years, you're going to get rich, absolutely rich.
And the alternative is, of course, in superannuation funds, so they have to do capital asset allocation. So
they have asset allocation.
Cash, sums in bonds, and so therefore those returns get drawn right down.
Exactly, but the super funds know that asset allocation simply drains performance because you're putting your money, some of your money, into things that are not going to perform over the long term, like cash. How crazy is that?
But it keeps it safe.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing is that. That's right, you don't want to lose your money, exactly. But if you're investing over the long term, 40 years, which is what somebody who's saving for retirement is doing, then the volatility doesn't matter.
Alan Kohler, thanks very much.